By 1945, Japan had been devastated. The twin atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki left vast swathes of the nation in ruins, over 200,000 people dead, and cities decimated. But the devastation went beyond physical destruction. Japan's economy had collapsed, and inflation skyrocketed as the price of goods surged over 700% between 1945 and 1948. Many feared social unrest as poverty and food shortages became the norm. U.S. aid and occupation. In the aftermath of Japan's surrender, the U.S. took charge of the country's reconstruction under the leadership of General Douglas MacArthur. The initial goal was to democratize and reform the nation, breaking up powerful business conglomerates, the Zaibatsu, and redistributing land to tenant farmers. However, by the late 1940s, the focus shifted from punishment to revitalization. Hyperinflation and a burgeoning leftist movement in Japan prompted the US to enact economic policies that would stabilize the country and curb communist influence. A crucial element was the Dodge Plan in 1949, orchestrated by American banker Joseph Dodge. This economic program aimed to balance Japan's budget, reduce inflation, and stabilize the yen at a fixed rate of 360 to $1. While this plan temporarily caused hardship, including layoffs and a brief recession, it laid the groundwork for Japan's post-war economic recovery. At the same time, Japan benefited from the Marshall Plan, which was primarily aimed at Europe but helped Japan through the redirection of financial aid to build industries and infrastructure. Additionally, the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950 turned Japan into a supply base for the UN forces, giving its economy a much-needed boost. The U.S. Japan Security Treaty. Another key factor in Japan's recovery was the U.S. Japan Security Treaty, signed in 1951, which allowed the U.S. to maintain military bases in Japan. In exchange, Japan was freed from the burden of military spending and could focus its resources on rebuilding its economy and infrastructure. This treaty remains a cornerstone of U.S.-Japan relations, ensuring that Japan could rise as an economic power while relying on the US for defense. The combination of economic reforms, US financial support, and a shift in focus from militarization to industrialization fueled Japan's miraculous transformation. By the 1960s, Japan was well on its way to becoming an industrial giant, with companies like Sony and Toyota leading the charge. The role of MITI, Japan's remarkable post-war economic recovery, was fueled by a carefully orchestrated government-led strategy with the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI, at its core. Founded in 1949, MITI was instrumental in identifying and nurturing key industries like automobiles, electronics, and steel, which would become the backbone of Japan's industrial power. Through a blend of tariffs, subsidies, and regulatory guidance, MITI protected these emerging industries from foreign competition during their vulnerable early stages. For example, Japan's auto industry, led by giants like Toyota, thrived under MITI's oversight, transforming from a domestic player into a global powerhouse. MITI's role wasn't limited to protectionism. It actively steered innovation and modernization, ensuring that Japanese companies remained competitive on the world stage. By fostering R&D and promoting the adoption of cutting-edge technology, MITI helped Japan's electronics sector, with companies like Sony and Panasonic, capture a significant share of global markets. This strategic industrial policy was pivotal in Japan's rise as an economic superpower. Zaibatsu to Keiretsu. In the years following World War II, Japan's economy underwent a dramatic transformation. Before the war, powerful family-owned conglomerates called Zaibatsu dominated the corporate landscape, controlling entire industries. However, after the war, the US occupation forces dismantled the Zaibatsu in an effort to democratize the economy. In their place emerged the Keiretsu, interconnected groups of companies that operated with a more collaborative approach. Unlike the family-owned Zaibatsu, Keiretsu involved companies working together through cross-shareholding and strategic partnerships. For example, major groups like Mitsubishi and Toyota became part of this network, diversifying across various industries and forming strong alliances with banks, suppliers, and manufacturers. Toyota, for instance, thrived in this system by collaborating closely with suppliers, streamlining production, and ensuring long-term stability. This approach allowed companies to innovate while protecting themselves from external market shocks. The Keiretsu system, coupled with Japan's strategic government initiatives, laid the foundation for the country's post-war economic boom, helping companies like Toyota and Sony become global powerhouses. Through shared resources and collaboration, Japan's industries achieved resilience, growth, and technological innovation, shaping its rise as an industrial leader. Just-in-time manufacturing. One of Japan's most famous innovations is Toyota's just-in-time JIT manufacturing system, which transformed global production. JIT focuses on reducing waste by producing goods only when they are needed. This meant that Toyota could operate with minimal inventory, avoiding the costs associated with storing large amounts of stock. The system also improved efficiency by reducing overproduction and defects, as workers were empowered to stop the production line when issues arose, ensuring higher quality outputs. JIT's success rippled across industries, influencing sectors such as electronics and consumer goods, with companies around the world adopting its principles to optimize their supply chains and reduce waste. The focus on real-time production and close supplier relationships allowed Toyota to respond quickly to market demands, maintaining flexibility and improving overall productivity. Global rise of Japanese icons. Japan's emphasis on innovation didn't stop with manufacturing. Companies like Sony, Honda, and Panasonic became global leaders in their industries, symbols of Japan's technological prowess. Sony pioneered the development of consumer electronics, from the Walkman to modern-day gaming consoles, while Honda revolutionized the automobile and motorcycle industries with its efficient and reliable vehicles. By the 1980s, these companies were icons of Japan's economic miracle. Their global success was not only due to their technological innovations, but also their ability to leverage the Keiretsu system, which allowed them to pool resources, share risks, and invest in cutting-edge R&D. This collaborative spirit, combined with innovations like JIT, cemented Japan's place as a global industrial and technological powerhouse. Education and workforce development. Japan's remarkable rise to economic prominence was fueled by its deep investment in education and workforce development. The nation placed a strong emphasis on vocational training and technical education, ensuring that its workforce was not only well educated, but also highly skilled in critical industries like engineering and manufacturing. Major corporations like Toyota invested heavily in their employees, offering advanced technical training and opportunities for further education, such as the Toyota Institute, which provides continual learning and development. Moreover, Japan's unique employment system promoted corporate loyalty and lifetime employment, especially in large firms. This model guaranteed long-term job security, which in turn motivated workers to dedicate themselves fully to their companies. The concept of lifetime employment fostered a sense of belonging and commitment, where employees felt deeply tied to their organization's success. This cultural norm was crucial for enhancing productivity, as workers were invested in the long-term vision of their companies. The power of Kaizen. At the heart of Japan's work culture lies the Kaizen philosophy, which translates to continuous improvement. This approach is centered on the belief that small, incremental changes can lead to significant long-term gains in efficiency and innovation. Every employee, from factory workers to executives, is encouraged to participate in this process of continuous problem-solving and waste elimination. Companies have embraced Kaizen to create highly efficient production systems, such as the just-in-time JIT manufacturing method, which revolutionized global production by reducing waste and boosting efficiency. Kaizen not only improved processes, but also empowered employees, making them active participants in the company's growth. By fostering a collaborative work environment where everyone contributed to quality and innovation, Japanese companies were able to maintain their reputation for high-quality production. This relentless focus on improvement helped Japan cement its place as a global leader in industries like automobiles and electronics. Japan's growth in the global market. From the 1950s to the 1980s, Japan experienced one of the most rapid and sustained periods of economic growth in history, often referred to as the Japanese economic miracle. After its post-war recovery, Japan became an export powerhouse, By the 1970s, Japan's GDP had skyrocketed, averaging a growth rate of 9% annually from 1955 to 1973. Key players like Toyota, Sony, and Panasonic dominated global markets, setting new standards for innovation and quality. In the 1980s, Japan's economy was the second largest in the world, rivaling even the US. This period of economic boom was driven by the country's focus on manufacturing and export-oriented industries. Japan capitalized on its ability to produce high-quality goods at competitive prices, which allowed it to capture significant global market share. Industries like automobiles and consumer electronics were not only profitable, but also helped Japan establish a global reputation for efficiency and technological prowess. The Plaza Accord and its impact. However, this rapid growth faced a turning point with the signing of the Plaza Accord in 1985. The agreement, made between the United States, Japan, and several European nations, aimed to address global trade imbalances by depreciating the US dollar. As a result, the Japanese yen appreciated significantly, which made Japanese exports more expensive and less competitive on the world stage. While the Plaza Accord succeeded in reducing the US trade deficit with European countries, it had unintended consequences for Japan. The sharp rise in the yen's value squeezed profit margins for Japanese exporters, leading to slower economic growth. The overvaluation of the yen was a key factor in Japan's economic slowdown and set the stage for what would later be known as Japan's lost decade of stagnation and deflation. Japan's economic boom, while remarkable, was thus tempered by external factors like the Plaza Accord, which highlighted the vulnerabilities of an export-driven economy heavily reliant on favorable currency conditions. Despite this, the foundations laid during this period, such as a focus on innovation and efficiency, continue to influence Japan's global economic presence today. The asset bubble and lost decade, Japan's economic miracle, which propelled it to global dominance in industries, came to an abrupt halt in the early 1990s with the bursting of an asset price bubble. The speculative frenzy of the late 1980s led to skyrocketing real estate and stock market valuations, which collapsed by the early 1990s. Land prices dropped by nearly 70% over the next decade, and stock values fell by 60%. As a result, Japan entered what is now known as the lost decade, a period of prolonged economic stagnation and deflation that would last well into the 2000s. A critical factor behind the lost decade was the Japanese government's response to the bubble. In an effort to curb inflation, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates aggressively, which only accelerated the collapse. The result was a liquidity trap where consumers and businesses hoarded cash, expecting further deflation. Despite efforts to inject liquidity and stimulate the economy, GDP growth averaged just over 1% per year, and deflation continued to sap economic momentum. Resilience and adaptation. Despite the economic slowdown, Japan has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. Over the last few decades, Japan has shifted its focus toward robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, and green technology, sectors that have allowed it to maintain a leadership role in global innovation. Companies like SoftBank Robotics and Fanuc have been pioneering advances in robotics, while Japan remains at the forefront of energy-efficient technologies and electric vehicles. This adaptability showcases Japan's ability to bounce back by leveraging its strengths in technology and innovation, despite the prolonged economic challenges of the lost decade. It is a testament to the nation's commitment to continuous improvement, a philosophy deeply rooted in its corporate culture, particularly through practices like Kaizen, which encourages incremental but constant innovation. Global lessons. Japan's economic history offers valuable lessons for modern economies. First, education and workforce development have been key to Japan's success, creating a skilled labour force capable of driving innovation. Second, long-term investment in research and development is critical for maintaining competitiveness, as seen in Japan's leadership in high-tech industries even during economic downturns. Finally, Japan's experience underscores the importance of balancing speculative growth with sustainable economic policies. Excessive speculation, as seen during Japan's bubble economy, can have long-term consequences if not managed carefully. Conclusion: Japan's rise from post-war devastation to global economic powerhouse provides us with invaluable lessons. Through US support, strategic government-led initiatives like MITI, the Keiretsu system of corporate collaboration, continuous innovation, and a strong cultural work ethic driven by philosophies like Kaizen, Japan achieved unprecedented growth. These pillars remain relevant today for any nation aiming for sustainable development. What do you think? Could Japan's model offer a path for other nations striving for long-term growth? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, mate. Bye.